Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing. Mr. Bancel, welcome to the committee. I understand that shifting from a single federal contract to a multi-layered payer market is adding complexity to your distribution claims. But we are talking about a vaccine that taxpayers invested $12 billion in, a vaccine that was once $15, and now you're planning, of course, to price it at $130, despite the fact that it just costs about $3 to make. And that, as we know, that cost is going to get passed on to consumers, whether it's through higher premiums or higher administration fees. So I want to know, what is your answer to this committee and really to the public about the need for such a drastic quadrupling of the cost?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. So first, just to precise some numbers, the US government invested $1.7 billion in the vaccine development. The rest of the amount that you mentioned was actually purchase of product, not investment in the development. As I said in my oral testimony, we decided, and this was discussed at our board, this was not asked of us by the government. We, in the letter I wrote to the government when we started discussing about procuring the vaccine in September of 2020, we proposed the discount. It was not asked of us. We discussed with our board and we said, if the vaccine works, in September 2020, we had no idea. The phase 3 came in November, the data. So if the vaccine works, we think it's our responsibility to return the capital to taxpayers. And we return, as I mentioned, $2.9 billion in discount versus the other mRNA vaccine that the government procured. So despite our vaccine having 3 times more mRNA in it, 100 microgram versus the other one was 30 microgram, we discounted our product to return $2.9 billion to the US taxpayer. We thought that was the right thing to do, to say thank you for the government. In addition, the government got $5 trillion of economic value, 18 million hospitalizations less, the impact on humans and the cost of it, and 3 million lives saved. So in the endemic setting, the challenge that we have is, as I mentioned in my opening testimony, the wastage we're going to have to take care of. So first, we have to make more product than we think we will sell, because we cannot have patients going to pharmacies and having no supply. And this is a very hard business, very complex, because it's a seasonal product. The FDA currently plans to tell us they think late May, early June, what they want in a vial. We're going to spend the whole summer making as much as we can. And what we know is the forecast is going to be wrong. The forecasts are always wrong. And so the question, to protect people, we need to make more than we think is going to be needed. That waste, we're going to have to pay for it. What happened in the fall of 2022, which I think is an important way to think about it, the US government purchased 160 million doses. To the last number I got from CDC, around 50 million doses got in arms. But the government bought everything. So the difference, 110 million doses might go to waste in the garbage. So saying that the cost of a vaccine before was $20, I don't think is the right way to do the cost. It's not the cost to the US taxpayer. The US taxpayer paid for everything. If you do the math, it's around $80. The cost in the fall of 22, still with 5 products in a vial.
Okay, well, I understand that, and I just have a minute here left. I want to ask a couple questions. You are talking about having a vaccine accessible to the uninsured. What I'm concerned about is people hear $130 and they just don't get it because they think it's expensive. How are you going to make sure people know that you do have this program to help uninsured?
So thank you for the question. And again, I care deeply about access and protecting people. That's why we said the company is to help protect people. We will advertise it and communicate about it as we get into the fall. As you know, as of today, the government is still in charge of vaccine distribution. So we don't want to confuse things for the US consumer. But as we get closer to the fall, we'll make sure we get the word out. As I mentioned, we want to work with rural hospitals, community hospitals, homeless shelters, because I really believe there's a better way to give access to people that are uninsured. We have heard loud and clear that the system set up by big companies is too complicated. Too much paperwork, takes too much time.
Okay, I just want a commitment that you are going to make sure the public understands that there is a way to get this if you're uninsured, correct?
Senator, we're going to work really hard to make sure that the public understand the process.
Okay. And my final question really is about the COVID-19 vaccine trials that excluded pregnant populations, which left moms and their doctors with very little information to guide them. It caused a lot of confusion. And we know that pregnant patients with COVID are at greater risk if they're infected. Last week, actually, the CDC released some new data showing that 40% increase in maternal deaths compared with 2020, and a recent GAO report found that COVID-19 related deaths accounted for this increase. Can you just talk to us about your decision to exclude pregnant patients from trials?
Yes, thank you, Senator. That's a very important question that I care deeply about, having had children. The challenge we had in 2020 under guidelines from the FDA is to be very careful, which you understand that in clinical trial, the safety of a participant is our number one priority. There was a lot we didn't know about the safety of a vaccine until November of 2020. It's like for the pediatric setting, we did those studies much later, which was hurting, parents having the ability to have a vaccine for their children, because we wanted with the FDA to go slow to understand the safety.
I'm getting gavelled. Can you just tell me that you will include pregnant patients in your continuing trials?
Yes, Senator. We want to include pregnant women and also the pediatric for the children.
Senator Cassidy.
I'll defer to Senator Tuberville.
Thank you, Senator Cassidy. Chairman, Mr. Bancel, thank you for being here today. Thank you for what you did for my state of Alabama, our country, and the world, and to your employees. Sometimes we overlook, the people that actually do the big work. But thanks for being here today and answering these questions. I hope my Alabama accent and your French accent can get along here pretty well.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah. I understand that Moderna was founded in 2010 in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and you have been the CEO since October 2011, and I also understand that you are from France originally. Could you speak to why Moderna was founded in the U.S. instead of somewhere else in the EU?
That's a great question, Senator. There's no better country than this country for science and entrepreneurship. People are willing to take risks. There's, as Senator Romney mentioned, much more capital, and it's available to take risks. It started in the US because the core technology was initially from Harvard labs and MIT labs, like you've seen a lot of those stories. A great VC firm from Boston who only does healthcare work, very innovative, very risky type of work, but that could change the world. And that's the reason I decided to join the team that was being formed to start this enterprise. You need to know, when I was talked about the idea of using mRNA to treat people, I first look at them and say, are you kidding me? This will never work. But the more I spend time thinking about it, looking at the data, talking to experts, as Senator Romney said, I had to tell my wife it was a 5% chance of working. She's not a scientist, and she was asking, how risky is it? But because if it was going to work, it was going to be a new platform. It was going to be a new way to make medicine. And that's why I took that risk with my career, is to say, it might fail. I will have to find another job. It's going to be okay. But I have to try to make this work because it could save so many people. Of course, we never thought there would be a pandemic in our lifetime. But we're working on infectious disease vaccine. We have around 13 clinical trials right now, which is one of the largest number in the industry. As I mentioned, we're working on cancer, genetic disease, heart disease. The team is working on autoimmune disease. It's still in a lab, but coming soon. This is it's a platform. For 100+ years, the pharma industry has been an analog industry where every drug is different. We have to relearn everything. This is a platform that's going to enable so many medicine helping people. And as we saw during the pandemic, because it's a platform, we can go much faster to the clinic, much faster to approval, so we can help save lives.
Thank you. Kind of reminds me of my former profession, which was a coach. And I used to tell my players, this country owes you nothing but an opportunity. And you came here, took the opportunity, and made a success out of it. So I want to thank you for that. And again, a lot of people want to thank you for that. We're hearing a lot today about how much the government spent on vaccine development and how much risk pharmaceutical companies took themselves. I wasn't here in the Senate when Operation Warp Speed was getting started, but I do recall hearing a lot of criticism on the other side of the aisle about whether partnering with pharmaceutical companies like this was a good idea and whether we would get any successful vaccines. It seems like it worked out pretty well for all of us. Can you speak about Operation Warp Speed and how it brought the vaccines to patients and what the overall impact of our healthcare system and overall deaths would have been without this investment?
Thank you, Senator. I think the world owes so much gratitude to the US government and to Operation Warp Speed. I think the idea to say, we have no idea which technology is going to work. We're fighting this enemy, the virus, but we don't know which technology is going to work. So let's bet on 3 technologies. Protein technology, very mature but much slower. Adenovirus technology and mRNA technology. And to do even better, the government said, let's not bet on one company. Let's bet on 2 companies per technology versus the 6-company portfolio to run a portfolio to hedge the risk. And then Congress, and I want to really thank members of Congress for the budget that was appropriated to BARDA to be able to fund this work, allowed this. This didn't happen in Europe. This didn't happen in Asia or anywhere else. This country helped change the course of this pandemic through the public-private partnership, which is why when the government called for help, we raised our hand. We made a 10 years worth of investment in science and technology platform available. So we're going to make the technology available. We make the plant available. We will delay products. We have commercial products, including, for example, in cancer, that have been delayed because we prioritize our resources to the pandemic because it was the right thing to do for the country.
Thank you. And I'd just like to make this statement. We did a lot of research on this, and the U.S. taxpayer paid $30 billion for the successful vaccines and received $1.15 trillion in direct benefits back from that $38 billion. Pretty good investment to me. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator.